Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to talk about something that may be a little controversial, especially to those in the coaching community. It might be kind of touchy, maybe not, but it's all about webinars. Do you really need to do a webinar in order to sell your coaching program? There are many industry experts that are saying, yes, you do. You definitely need a webinar to sell your coaching program or your retreat or your mastermind or what have you. And I would say it depends, but I'll tell you why in this video. I am Jay with JB&Co, where I partner with coaches and other amazing entrepreneurs to help them build, strengthen, and grow their businesses into sustainable powerhouses by utilizing sales funnels. And not just regular sales funnels, dynamic sales funnels. And today I want to talk about why I don't think that every coach, every entrepreneur needs to do a webinar. It's very time consuming and exhaustive to do a webinar every time you launch. Now you can do the same one over and over again and just tweak a couple of things. Like my business crush, Marie Forleo, she does basically the same webinar. She's basically done the same webinar for years in some iteration or another. So I don't think that it's a strong no and that you have to do a new one all the time. It doesn't have to be that way. And also her offer hasn't changed. So she's figured out the right webinar to accompany her offer. So in that instance, you don't need to change it and have a different one all the time. And in that case, it works for her because she knows her audience. So now with you, it might be something different. Your display of your coaching style or of your service or of your offer may need a webinar, and then it may not. But I'm going to give you 4 distinct reasons and distinct things that you need to look for to see if a webinar is good for you or not. Now, before we get into the 4 criteria, I want you to do something for me, okay? I want you to go ahead and click that like button, click the subscribe button, go ahead and click that notification bell. Now let's talk about why I want you to do that. Need some encouragement here. I need a little pat on the back, a little go Jay, yay. But more importantly, I want you to be a part of my world. I want you to be a part of my online family. So by subscribing and getting that notification every time a video drops, that ensures that you don't miss anything and that you're a part of my family. So go ahead and do that. Now let's get into this content. So the first of the 4 criteria is we need to talk about your audience. How does your audience best absorb content? Okay? How do they like content to be presented to them? If they like a talking head, if they like to watch video, if they like to be engaged, if they like question and answer, if they like learning new things all the time, then a webinar would be for them. If they're like, okay, look, let's just get to it. I want to go ahead and make my buying decision real quick on the fly. I do my own investigative work. I've already been a part of your community for a minute. I've seen you on other platforms. I already know. I don't need this extra stuff. Then a webinar really wouldn't be for them, because what are you trying to convince them of? They're already convinced. They just want you to tell them what you're selling and how can they pay for it. Okay? If your audience is, people will be people who like to take in content by reading or through an audio sense or something like that, then you don't want to do a webinar because they'll get bored and they're like, okay, just can you give me the information another way? And all the effort that you put into creating these beautiful slides and doing all this research for all this content and looking for these cute stock photos and blah, 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 that will go out the window because they're not paying attention to the visuals. They're either listening or they're busy doing something else and you've lost their attention. So you don't want to waste your time doing that. You want to go ahead and probably create another offer where you give them a bunch of podcast interviews or a bunch of audios that they can click on, listen to while they're doing other things, and that helps them to make their mind over to make that buyer purchasing decision. Okay, so you need to know who your audience is and if you have an audience that's best suited for webinars. The second criteria is that you want to have a list. You want to have a list of people to invite to your webinar. It's kind of like if you're throwing a party and you're like, okay, so who should I invite? What's the thing that you do? You create a list of people that you want to invite to your party. Well, if you don't have a list of people that you want to invite to your party, or if you don't have any friends, if you don't have any neighbors, if you don't have any family, if you don't have anybody, then you're going to have to go out and make friends and you're going to have to create a community and an audience in order to invite to that party. Now, let's use the same illustration. If you go out and you make new friends and you're like, hey, I'm throwing a party. You want to come? There might be like, I don't know you. I just met you. Give me a minute. You're asking me to come to a party and take an hour or so out of my day to just be there. That's a lot for me. You're asking a lot. So you want to like have an audience that know you, that like you in order to show up to this party. So you need to have a list. People who already are like, hey girl, I know you. I like you. I want more from you. Then you can say, hey, I'm having an intimate gathering where, I am going to, give you an opportunity to deepen our relationship, to get in a committed relationship with me, hence buying something. And yeah, I want you to come. Then they're more apt to say yes, which increases your conversion rate to go from being on the list to coming to the party, right? That's the conversion, the first conversion. So we need to get people from your email list to come to your webinar and make that initial conversion. If you don't have a list, it's going to be a lot harder. It's going to be a lot longer to convert those who are not yet in your audience to become a part of your audience than to get on your list and then come to your webinar. See how that works? So if you have to jump through all those hoops, girl, don't even do it. Don't do it. Do it later once you have a list. The third criteria is if you have a community. Do you have other colleagues, peers, other entrepreneurs who are willing to share their audience with you? Now, if you're like, okay, well, Jay, I don't have a list, but I do have a community, pretty strong community, who's willing to support me in advertising and marketing my webinar. This is the only exception to the previous rule that I will put out there for my clients. If they do have a strong community who's willing to support and market and advertise and share their audience with you, then yes, go ahead and put on a fabulous webinar that's going to help them convert over to being a part of your audience, a part of your community. Now, let's talk about these other community members. These community members need to be other peers, other colleagues that don't do exactly what you do. They may offer support in other areas to the same audience member, but they don't do exactly what you do. Because you don't want to be in, and I know some people don't like the use of this word, but I'm going to say it, competition. You don't want people to be in competition with you who are doing the same thing that you're doing, because then you're vying for the same customer in the same sense, and it can get muddy and crazy and not so good. So you want to make sure that your community members are people who are serving the same audience member, the same ideal client, but they are not doing the exact same thing that you're doing and offering the same type of offer that you're offering. You want them to be complementary to what you're doing. That's the best partnership, the best marriage between you and a community member. Also, you can go into other peers, your friends, your family, who are connected to, guess what? Your ideal client, your ideal audience member. That's who you want. Not just people who have a large audience just for the sake of having a large audience. Because then really, what are we doing here? You want to fill your audience. You want to fill this auditorium that's virtually yours. You want to fill it with people who will be excited to be a part of your community. You want to fill it with people who will be excited to purchase this offer from you. You want people who are going to be excited to get on your list. So you want to make sure that the people that you're reaching out to, that their audience are people who are going to be your people. The fourth criteria is that you have to take a look at what you're offering. If you're offering a high ticket offer or a high ticket service, a high ticket product, then yes, a webinar may be required. And when I say a high ticket offer, service, product, let's talk about what that is. Okay, think about your audience and what they can afford and what they're paying. And then you also have to think of the offer itself. Is it something that's over $2,000, $4,000, $5,000? Then yes, definitely you need to jump on the mic and jump in front of a camera, and you're going to have to talk, because people will need to be convinced that what they're investing in, because at this point, whenever it's thousands of dollars, especially in this financial climate, it's a big investment. Even though it's an investment in themselves, they're also investing in you. They're also investing in this product, in this service, this offer. So they're going to have to quantify that in their head. Like, okay, am I really going to get this achievable outcome? Am I able to get to this goal? Am I able to make this transformation with this person, with this product? And in that convincing, they're going to need to see you. How do you show up? How do you articulate your value and the value of this offer? How do you connect with them? Do you really understand them? They need to see something from you. And the best thing right now, they can't show up in your office at home or walk into an apartment building and request to sit down from you. This is the best thing that they can do, is to have a virtual conference with you. So they're seeing how knowledgeable you are. They're seeing your expertise about the topic. They're seeing how you connect with them through the camera. They're seeing all of these things, and it's helping to either convince them that this offer is the right offer for them, or that you're the right person to follow and to connect with. So they're constantly, every moment, everything that you show them, everything that you talk about, they're like, yes, no, this is boring, I'm intrigued, what's next? Great, what's the next step? They're having these internal conversations with themselves, especially with a high ticket offer. So you want to make sure that you lessen the objections for this high ticket offer. The higher the amount is, the more objections, or the more opportunity for objections. So you want to, with a webinar, go ahead and lessen those objections and address those objections to your offer and convince your audience member that this is the right one for you. So there you have it. A webinar isn't necessarily for every offer, every service, every product. It's not for every coach. It's not for every audience. So I don't want you to think that just because you're putting out a new offer and you're going into your launch activities, or you're going into your launch strategy, and you're thinking, oh, we need to put in a webinar, if that's really the thing to do. Not necessarily. Go and look over these 4 criteria areas and see if you say yes or no. That will let you know if you need to do a webinar. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment down below. And if you are in the middle of your launch funnel, don't worry about it. I know you would do great, and I can't wait to be a part of your journey. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here. You could have been doing anything else in the world, but you chose to spend this time with me, and I am grateful. Until next time, y'all, bye.